Mine was on a hitchhiking adventure from BC, Canada to Antigua, Guatemala, which started in September 2019. This post is taken from the notes in my journal, which I wrote as soon as I could after this insane experience. If you've ever hitchhiked before, you know how amazing it is and how many cool people you can meet. Out of thousands of rides across 40 countries, I've only had 2 bad and or dangerous encounters thumbing it. This was my second one. I was taking a break from traveling to find weed trim work in California's Nevada City, a beautiful little town with a very interesting crowd. We got stuck a few towns over for not getting a ride all day. I ended up sleeping a night at the Love's gas station, which I had done plenty of times before. I've slept in worse places. At least Love's has a bathroom. In the morning, I was a little more desperate to accept rides because no one was stopping, and it had already been a whole day. I just wanted to get out of there. A pickup truck is speeding past me and slams the brakes ahead, and then slowly backs up. Inside is a man and a woman in their late 50s, and he says in a husky voice, "Where you headed, boy?" "Nevada City. Any distance helps." "We'll get in. We're going to Yuba." They seemed normal enough, even without most of their teeth and hair, so I jumped in. It all happened in rapid succession. I toss my bag in the back and jump in. I shut the door. I notice a pile of guns and bullets on the floor. Before I have time to rethink my decision, we speed off. So as I'm trying to assess whether or not I'm in danger, they start telling me how this guy just got out of jail for aggravated assault. How he beat some guy so bad that he can't even think straight no more. And they both started to laugh. She was holding his seatbelt over his chest, and they both smell like crap. And they start asking how much money I have. I think, yep, I'm not safe here. After hitchhiking all this way, I don't look very wealthy. I'm filthy, I need a shower. I look no different than the stereotypical homeless guy. So I try to seem more poor than I am, and more tough than I am too. I'm broke as heck, man. That's why I'm going to the city. I'm hoping to make some cash trimming. The man looks me in the eye. "Well, you'll find it alright. You'll find it good. Don't be afraid to do no dirty work. If people try, they'll try to screw you over. So you screw them over first. You get what I'm saying?" "Put your eyes on the dang road. Jesus Christ." The woman points forward and he swerves back to the right lane. He asks me if I smoke, and knowing that California has legalized weed, I put 2 and 2 together. He's offering me a joint. So I say, "Yeah, I smoke." With a wild look in his eyes, he exclaims, "Great!" And we turn off the highway and start down a dirt road. I'm more than worried and I look behind us. In the back of the truck is my bag, a chainsaw, a pickaxe, and a plastic tarp over something. It didn't help my anxiety. Finally, we stop out in front of a clearing. The woman takes out not a joint but a meth pipe. It's the first time that I've seen one, and a lot of things start to make sense. While he lights up and exhales into the car, I've never seen smoke so white. I roll down the windows because I don't want to smoke that crap. The woman takes some as well, and they tell me how they were going to collect money that a woman owes them. "That dang girl is gonna pay one day or another. She better have the money, or I'm gonna grab her and say, 'Where's my money?' Oh, she'll have it all right. She'll have it or else." You say, son, you ever steal something? 'Cause we could make $20,000 today. I don't know exactly how to answer this guy, and he repeats, $20,000 today. Here, smoke some of this. And he hands me the pipe. Nothing like the good stuff, ain't that right? I gently reject it and say that it's not really my thing, which he surprisingly takes well and smokes some more before putting it away and driving off back towards the highway. His driving is terrible, swerving, speeding, hitting brakes abruptly, and starts trying to convince me to steal some marijuana plants. "You'll hold my gun and I'll hold the drill, and I'll keep lookout. Yeah, baby girl, you keep lookout now. You gotta be careful if you hear the dogs because they some son of a guns are nasty. Nasty. You see this bite. And he reveals what looks like a terrible scar on his arm. I didn't really know how to get out of the situation, so I sounded as confident as possible and said that I was meeting a friend to look for work together, and that they would be expecting me today. We neared the end of Yuba City, where they pull over to the side. Well, it's your funeral. You don't want to eat? Fine by me, but if you ever want that cash, you call me. Then he hands me his number. Heck no, I think. Thanks, I will. Quickly retrieving my bag, smiling nervously. The woman says with a wave, "Take care now, God bless." And they speed off. I'm standing on the side of the road thinking, what the heck was that? Just happy to be out of the car. I've had multiple trips. The reason was because it cost too much to always travel from town to city. I was living there for 6 months and I wanted to see my girlfriend at the time, and had to always get hotels over the weekend to stay, so I thought that I would save some money by hitchhiking. I would never ever suggest anyone to hitchhike. 1. A very nice couple picked me up and during the drive, we just talked about each other's lives. But what worried me is when the boyfriend asked his girlfriend to pass him a beer while driving. Later on in the night, they were saying that they were meeting their friends for a home dinner party and if I would like to join them. Maybe I was the dinner, I thought. 2. 2 guys who just recently got out of prison picked me up. Being a guy with long hair and a ponytail didn't really help the situation either. I had a pocket knife on me, but they were nice, and I managed to adapt to their conversation since I had known a few rough around the edges sort of people myself. But during one of the conversations, they said, "How awesome would it be to drag some chick into the woods and take turns?" I also had to go to urinate, and when they stopped on the side of the road, I got kinda worried that I was gonna get attacked from behind. 3. While walking home one night, it's a long strip of nothing but bushes and I didn't want to pay for a taxi. It's about an hour and a half walk. Someone pulled up beside me with a fast-looking car. Nothing fancy really. He rolls down the window and it's a young guy around my age and asked if I wanted to ride. I said sure, why not? Hope you don't mind if I go fast. Oh, and also, this isn't my car. I might have borrowed or stole it off my friend. In my brain, I'm just thinking, cool, cool, cool. In a stolen car zooming down the road. Why not? 4. A more wholesome story, but not much to go on them other than a father who spoke proudly of his sons, who was making it into music, and another guy who would occasionally move a towel from the window to give his dog some shade. And for the last one, also a truck driver had picked me up once and I got to see how trucks are and the amount of space that there were behind the front seats. Overall, there's some goods and bads when you hitchhike, but still, I wouldn't recommend it. When I was growing up, my sister and I would sometimes hitchhike to get to where we wanted to go, such as the local pool and so on. Of course, this meant that we encountered our fair share of creeps, even at the ages of 12, 13, or 14. The town that we lived in was very wealthy, but we were poor and living in a rented upper floor of a duplex with our mom. I didn't know it until later, but there were a lot of bad people in that town. I know this from a first-hand experience. Since we were poor, we didn't have a car and didn't even have bikes until later. Being in such a wealthy neighborhood, there were no buses, not even school buses, so walking and hitchhiking was how we mainly got around then. There was one time when I was trying to get home that a man picked me up. Bear in mind that this guy was probably one of the local neighborhood dads, or maybe an older brother of someone, though I didn't know him. It was pretty much only families living in that suburban town. Lots of creeps there, and that's not even the worst that happened. But then he passed my street and didn't even move to slow down. It appeared that he intended to keep going, so I told him that, hey, he had passed my street. He said that was okay and he tried to grab at me. Well, he did grab me for a second, but I somehow got him to stop the car and got home safely. Of course, I didn't tell anyone since I would have been in trouble anyway for hitchhiking, and these people likely count on this. I think I was 12 at the time. I was also followed home when I was 17 and mugged on my very own street. I'm giving this background to explain why I had some degree of self-assurance and well as stupidity in what happens next. This experience happened before cell phones and GPS. I was 23 at the time. I had just moved to Michigan from several states away to start a new job at a factory. I didn't know anything at all about the state. I arrived late on a Sunday after all the packing to move in the long drive, so I just crashed in an exhausted heap in a hotel near the factory. I had to start work immediately the next morning. We had to clock in and out, as I recall. Only got a 30-minute lunch and 2 15-minute breaks that you also had to clock in and out for, and you got docked if you went over the time, which was not enough to allow you to leave during the workday. We worked 12 hours a day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and I think 8 to 4 on Sundays. It was winter then, so I arrived and left in the dark. That meant I really didn't have much of a chance to explore my new neighborhood. I just went to and from work. I didn't have any friends or relatives in the entire state either, much less where I worked. By the end of my first work week, due to having to pay for lunches and so on, I had exhausted the small amount of cash that I had. I finally got some time off the first Sunday. My car was very nearly out of gas at this point, and I had no way to pay for gas without cash. I didn't even have a credit card or a gas credit card, or even a local check since I hadn't been able to get to a local bank to open an account yet. I also didn't know where the nearest gas station was, but figured that I would come across one because this factory was very much near a major interstate, though the area around the factory was very rural and sparsely populated. Since all I had was a department store credit card, my plan to get gas was as follows. I found out from people around work that there is a large mall off of an exit on the interstate, and the mall was about a 15-minute drive away. The department store that I had the credit card with was at this mall. I knew from prior experience that I would be able to cash a check there and then use the cash at a gas station. I figured that I had enough gas to make this short trip, so I headed out onto the interstate. The store closed at 5 p.m. that day, but I had time to make it. I think the bill pay credit department where I was going to cash the check closed at 4:30, but I'm not sure. I was planning to get there by 5 and was hoping for the best, so time was a bit tight. I had covered a few miles on the interstate when I felt the car slowing and noticed that it would no longer respond to my pressing my foot down on the gas pedal. Crap, I had run out of gas. I managed to pull under the shoulder before the car died. I didn't have AAA, which could have brought me gas. I have it now, and even if I did, I had no way to call for help. I also didn't even really know where I was other than being on the interstate between work and this mall. Also, the clock was ticking, and every minute that passed was bringing me closer to the store closing time, which was my only hope for cash and ultimately gas, maybe until the following Sunday. Crap. I was thinking about walking, but didn't see any gas stations ahead, and hadn't passed any either. A few minutes later, a car pulled up on the shoulder in front of me and asked if I needed help. The driver was a man, appearing to be in his late 30s or early 40s. Nothing about his demeanor raised any alerts at that time, but he was a stranger, so I had my guard up. I told him that I ran out of gas and was going to walk to a station. Though I had no money, I didn't want him to know that I had no options. He said that there weren't any stations close by and that he would give me a ride. Crap. I really didn't want to do this, but I felt that I had no choice. If it happened today, I would have just asked the person to call road service for me, but it wasn't possible. And I had experience growing up taking rides from strangers and nothing really happened. I decided that I had to do it, but that I would set apart against the passenger side door in case he tried to grab me, and I would jump out if things got scary. Note that I had never heard of Ted Bundy and how he had abducted women at the time. He had removed the car door handles on the passenger side so they couldn't escape. I'm kind of glad I didn't know this. My rescuer starts driving and asking me questions as he drove. I didn't want to disclose much information, but he finds out that I just moved there and didn't really know anyone. And then he said that, "You really shouldn't just get in a car with a stranger. Haven't you heard that there is a killer on the loose, and a few girls about your age have been killed?" My blood ran cold, but he smiled and said that I was safe with him. Yeah, right. He exited the interstate and made a few turns. We got to a Shell gas station which wasn't visible from the interstate. At this point, I had no idea where I was, how to get back to my car exactly where it was. The gas station also had a working garage that was still open. I told the guy that I would be right back and that he could wait out front, which luckily he did, so I got to going alone. I told the cashier that I needed gas and that I also needed a gas can. She said that she didn't have any to sell. I told her that actually I didn't have any money, and I was in a pinch and asked if I could borrow one. She said that she couldn't help. I went back out front and told the guy this. He said that it was okay. He lived nearby and had his own gas pump. We could just go to his house. "Come on, let's go," and started walking to his car. No way. I turned around and I went into the gas station garage where I immediately noticed a couple of gas cans leaning up against the wall. I grabbed one and I took it to the pump, where I filled it up with a gallon or so of gas. I went back to the cashier and told her that I was taking the gas can and the gas. She said that I couldn't do that, and I said that yes, I was going to do this and I was going to leave my driver's license and department store credit card as collateral, and that I would be back to pay for the gas and return the can. I also told her that I was in trouble and that I didn't know this guy, that he was talking about serial killers and wanted to take me to his house, and she had to let me take the gas and the can and I wasn't leaving without it. I put my driver's license and credit card down on the counter and assured her that I would be back. And then I had to get back in this guy's car and hope that he would take me back instead of off to some field to take care of me. I know that he also knew that the gas station had my ID, so I assumed that if I didn't return with the can, they might recall that I was there with this guy. I thought that this might provide some measure of protection. Luckily, he did take me back to my car. He then asked me for the car keys. I really didn't want to give them to him. There was no reason for him to at all for them, and he also took the gas can from me and poured the gas into the tank. I didn't want him to take the can from me either, but was still hoping that maybe things would turn out okay if I just kept acting like all of this was normal. He then told me to pop the hood and that he would check the engine. I held my hand out for the keys and luckily he gave them back. I didn't know what he was going to do once he had access to the engine. Remove the distributor cap, remove the spark plug's wires, unhook the battery. It didn't make sense to me that he needed to look under the hood when I knew I was just out of gas. He told me to try to start the car and I did. And then when he told me to pop the hood, it only opened a bit until the latch caught it, since you still had to use the manual release from the front of the car to get the hood fully open. And as he was walking along the side of the car towards the front to finish opening the hood, I accelerated off of the hood, still partially open. I heard him yell and assumed that he went back to his car but didn't see him again. I found my way back to the gas station and returned the empty gas can. I picked up my license and credit card and got the department store in time where I cashed the largest check they allowed. I tried to never run out of gas again and now study maps before I venture out somewhere new even though I now have GPS. Maybe this guy was just trying to help. Maybe he was a concerned dad who saw a girl in trouble, and there was nothing more to it. There's a high probability of this. Most people in Michigan are really nice and helpful, but they have had their fair share of killers too. But what if he was just trying to help? And then why tell me about serial killers and try to get me to go to his house? I don't know, but I'm glad I never found out.